Greetings, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, and welcome back to another video. I promise you that I will be bleaching my hair soon because my roots are out of control. It's ridiculous. I've never seen this much of my natural hair, like, in the past 11 years. This is it's out of control. Anyway, something that you may have gathered by now is that one of my favorite things to talk about is conservative comics. They are just so funny to me. It's one of my favorite pieces of like conservative content, just because you have the like bad, absurd takes, and then you pair that with art that's like ridiculous, and you get something that's just so comical. So today I wanted to talk about a comic that I stumbled upon during one of my previous videos, which was the Right Can't meme, called Wokely Comics, because they have a bunch of comics that have me feeling a lot of things, and I wanted to share that with you. So that's what we're doing today. But before we get into it, I would like to take a moment to say thank you to today's patron of the day, Isabel. I appreciate you and your support so much, and I hope that you enjoy this video. And if anyone else would like to become a patron, go to patreon.com/savvycat or click the link in the description. It starts at as little as £1 a month, and I appreciate it greatly. And let's get into it. Let's have a look at some of these unhinged comics. Okay, so we have two images here. On the left, we have Then. Play with whatever you want, and it's a mother giving her daughter a toy truck to play with. And then on the right, we have Now, which is the same child playing with a truck, but then a man with blue hair and a pink and white headband, obviously the trans colors, cutting her hair and saying, "Ye you a boy now." And I find this so ridiculous. I would arguably say that this is kind of the opposite of how it goes. Like, I don't know when the then is referring to, but as far as I'm aware, and for kind of as long as I can remember, gender boxes and gender toys and gendered items for children have been enforced for quite some time, like a really long time. And like there are a lot of parents, especially conservative parents, who are so against buying toys that are like aimed towards the other gender for their kids. Like I know a lot of conservative parents who will not buy toy trucks for their daughters, and they will definitely not be buying things like Barbies for their sons. Because what happens if their kids want to play with the toy that is supposed to be for the other gender is they don't let them, because that's opening a gateway to being trans, or it's opening a gateway to being gay, and they assign genders so heavily with these toys that it's like, you can't play with that, you're a girl, what are you, a boy? Only boys play with that. Or if like a boy wants Barbie, they think that it means that their son is gay, so they have to like take the Barbies away because otherwise it's gonna corrupt him. It means he's gay. Blah, blah, blah. We are not the ones who are enforcing like the gender ideas of toys. That is something that is being promoted and that conservatives in particular are pushing and carrying on. When we let our kids play with whatever toys we want, that's because we don't assign a gender to them. It means that they can play with whatever they want, and then they get to decide how they identify. And if you have a child whom was born a girl, whom you call your daughter, etc., who starts to play with trucks and then expresses that they identify with boys and would like to be called a boy and use he, him pronouns, then yes, you can respect that because that is your child's identity. Playing with trucks doesn't equal that, but sometimes they want to play with trucks and also they are trans. You know what I mean? Stop projecting. Just because you've gendered toys doesn't mean we all have to gender toys. Here we have another one that is two panels. On the top, we have a newspaper that says, "White man with white skin shoots innocent black teen." And the image is of a black teen breaking into an old white man's house, and the white man shoots him and kills him because he is protecting what is his house. He's threatened. It's self-defense. That's what's implied. And then in the second image, we have the title, man shot 3, and it's really small and hidden on the back page, as opposed to in the first one where it's like a full page front headline. And the image is of a black man who has broken into a house and has shot a mother, father, and their small child. And this is so fucked. This is like so fucked up. Oh my God. Every single thing about this, like literally every single piece of this is, oh my God. First and foremost, this is the opposite of what happens. Like, we see this discourse a lot of like when a white man murders his family or like kills a bunch of people, the photo they use in the newspaper is like a photo of him being happy and with his family and being like, family man killed 3 people. And then when it is a black man who commits the same crime, they use mugshots and they paint him out to be inhuman. They don't personify him. When it's a white man who commits the crime, they personify him, they humanize him, they try to make you feel sympathy for him. And when a black man commits the same crime, he's not treated that way. And like both of those are bad, I think. I think that both of those are bad, but it shows the hypocrisy so loud and clear and is the complete opposite to whatever the fuck this comic says. And the other fucked up thing of this comic as well, very obviously, is the fact that it's showing that black people are always the instigators and white people are always the victims. And that's so fucked. Like, why couldn't you have used the same scenario for both of them? Like, the fact that you had to make it that white people were the victim every time and that black people are the ones who, like, murder people just for no reason is insane to me. Like, that's so fucked. This one, we have woke logic, and it is a man in a white van holding 3 books and saying to a kid, "Yo, kid, wanna read porn?" And his mother, I'm assuming, is like pulling him away and on the phone like, "Hello, FBI?" And then the second panel is the same exact image, except the man is in a school bus saying, "Yo, kid, you want to read porn?" And his mother is saying, "Have fun at school," because they're obviously the same exact thing. This is obviously exactly what's happening. I find this so baffling and kind of terrifying how they've twisted, like, education into being pornographic. Like, if you can't tell the difference between smut and education, there's a massive problem there because they are not even remotely the same thing. The books that are like about sex at schools that are being read in classrooms are made to be educational and they're made to be taught at an age-appropriate level. It is incredibly important for children to learn about their bodies and about consent at a young age, at an age-appropriate level, because if they don't know these things, how are they meant to voice if these things are being done to them? Kids who are being abused but don't have the language to express that can't express that, and they're going to carry on suffering from this abuse. It has been said so many times that kids with this education, with like sex education and consent education at like an age-appropriate level, are able to report when those things are happening, and it's like life-saving. So taking that away and saying it's inappropriate, you are directly causing harm to children. And if you are advocating to remove that education from classrooms, then I'm going to have to assume that you are okay with children being abused and that you are potentially an instigator of such things. Why else would you need to remove it? You're not protecting kids if you're setting them up to be victims of abuse and removing necessary language. Smut and sex education are not the same thing, okay? It's really not that difficult of a concept to grasp. No one's reading smut in a classroom. Next up, we have another one about kids in school, and it is someone standing at a window of a classroom with a sign that says, "Leave the kids alone," and she's wearing a t-shirt that says, "Parents' rights matter." And the teacher is saying, no one is going after the kids. And I think it's worth noting that there is a trans flag on the wall. She is wearing trans colors. The next panel is two adults at the window saying, "Okay then, ban child transitioning." And the teacher says, "Leave the kids alone." And she's wearing a Protect Trans Kids shirt. Okay, but notice how the people outside the window were the instigators, who were the ones who were mentioning kids in the first place. Like, she's in a classroom teaching kids. It's her job to teach kids. She can't leave the kids alone in the sense that, you know, her job is to literally look after children and teach them and support them and respect them and guide them in life. Like, that's her job, is to teach kids. And so what she's doing is teaching kids. And part of learning about life is learning about the people around you. It's important to learn about, like, diversity and like gender and culture and all of that. Like, it is important to learn that from a young age. You need to be aware of the world around you, and you need to be kind and respectful. Like, that's important lessons to learn. That's always been something that's taught. It's now just extended out to like supporting more of a diverse range of people, because that's becoming more accepted and something that we need to accept and talk about. Promoting acceptance and promoting being trans are two very different things. It's validating and saying it is okay to be trans. It's not forcing anyone to be trans. It's just offering support if children are trans. And letting kids transition is leaving the kids alone, because it's not controlling them and their identities and their lives. It's allowing them to be their own person, because kids are people who are capable of having emotions and expressing themselves. And so by supporting them, you are leaving them alone. By forcing them to be someone they're not, you are not leaving them alone. I hope that helps. Nothing is permanent either. If a child says they'd like to switch pronouns or change the way they dress or cut their hair or whatever the fuck, it's really easy to just do that. And then if later they're like, actually, I want to change my pronouns again, then you just support that and go along with it. Like, it's not that difficult. 10-year-olds aren't going under the knife. Okay? Like, chill out. Leave the kids alone. Let them exist and express themselves and be people, because they're people. So this time we have a couple of kids being arrested, with Joe Biden saying, "Due to the gang dispute involving illegally obtained guns, we must act and ban legally obtained guns." And the bottom slide is the FBI confiscating guns from a house where a father is playing ball with his son. And like, okay, so the argument here is that making things illegal doesn't stop them from existing, right? It's saying that, well, drugs are illegal and yet people still use drugs and sell drugs, and there's still like drug crime that exists. So what makes you think making guns illegal is going to get rid of them? All it's going to do is mean that bad people have guns. This is the thing, okay? Is that, yes, there are always going to be illegally obtained things. That's not something you can stop. However, most people are not going to go through that effort. Most people just aren't. A lot of people just have guns because it's easy. They're easily accessible. You don't have to go through much in order to be armed. And like, you can use this example of this like dad and his son being like, look, they're so innocent. Like, they're not gonna hurt anyone. Okay, then so why do they have guns? Self-defense? That's still like using a gun to hurt someone. And if guns were illegal, most of the time, other people aren't going to be a threat, because once again, most people aren't going out of their way to obtain those illegally. It's a hassle, and you have to like know people who know people. And then there's like the fear of being caught. Like, most people aren't going through that. Ask like every other country. They exist because of convenience. And a lot of people who own firearms, sure, maybe they aren't using them for bad purposes themselves, but you know how many kids like steal their parents' firearms and then use them? And there's way too many people who like leave them lying around and then kids end up like accidentally killing each other. Like gun accidents happen all the time. The amount of suicides that happen by firearm because they're easily obtained. Like, you can't rid gun violence entirely, obviously, but you can so greatly decrease it by making them illegal. And it's absolutely absurd to me that these people try to be like, well, if they're illegal, then only the bad people will have them. Most of them still won't, though. And this is someone who is doing things for their safety. It's locking your car, locking your gate, and locking your door. But then when they say, lock down the border for our people's safety, she screams, no, you bigot! As though those are the same thing. Like, one, I'm doing for my own protection, right? Like, I'm locking my car so my shit doesn't get stolen. I don't have a gate. I've never had a gate that I would lock, but like it's keeping your like area, your own area, right? Like protected. And then you lock your house because like you don't want people breaking in, you don't want people to steal your shit, etc. It just keeps you safe because there are some people out there who intend harm, whether that be to you or your property or whatever. There are some bad people out there. Locking the border and just like keeping people out, I don't understand how that's benefiting my safety. What are they gonna fucking do? There's like an equal number of like criminals there than there are here. Where they come from doesn't impact the amount of bad people there are, and most of the people who are crossing the border are just kind of looking for a new place to live, and they don't intend any harm at all. Like, sure, some of them might, but like, so might my neighbor. So might the person that lives around the block. Like, I don't fucking know. But keeping them out isn't really keeping you any safer. Sure, if they are more likely to commit crime, it's likely due to the fact that they are not welcome and it's hard to get like jobs and good places to live, etc., etc. And so like when people are left with very little, it makes sense for them to turn to crime because there's not much you can do to like earn money if you aren't being given fair opportunities and jobs. So if you want less crime, just in general, for foreigners or not, you need to grant people better access to just like living. Quality of living makes a really big impact on crime. But yeah, regardless of anything, shutting your borders down and not letting in foreigners, it doesn't make you any safer. It just doesn't. Land and like countries are not real. It's all made up. They're literally just imaginary lines. Like once upon a time, that didn't fucking exist because guess what? It's just a piece of land. It's all made up. None of it makes any fucking sense. It's so ridiculous. Next up, we have like the classic trope of man dress up in wig so he can go in women's bathroom. And so this man is standing naked, looking in a mirror, wearing a crown. He's got a blonde wig on. He's wearing blue, white, and pink makeup with a big mustache, and he's wearing a pink cape. And he has two butler type people brushing his hair and doing his makeup. And he says, so I can go in the women's bathroom now? And they say, yes, queen, your balls are only visible to bigots. I'm always so obsessed with the fact that they only ever do it this way around too. Like, it doesn't work in their favor ever to bring up trans men. So they never do. And I find it so fucking funny because all it does is like completely hammer home the idea that men are predators and that women should in fact be afraid of men, which is fucking hilarious because they're the people who constantly say, not all men. Why do you hate men? Stop blaming men. Stop being mad at men. Men aren't scary. You should trust men. And yet they're here constantly making comics and arguments being like, well, men are gonna dress up as women and go abuse women in the bathrooms. Like, so I'm not meant to trust men then because they're willing to go to such lengths to assault me in a public place? Like, it's just astounding to me that they managed to hold all these different arguments that all just completely clash, just depending on what they're trying to promote that day. And it's just astounding. Also, have you ever been into a public bathroom before? I don't know if you're aware of this, but it's all pretty private. You kind of just go into a room, you go into a cubicle that locks, and then you come out and you wash your hands and then you leave. No one's seeing anything. It's a very private, quiet experience. And the only time you're ever integrated with other people is when you're like standing in a line or you're washing your hands, both of which are incredibly fully clothed and like quick process. And you don't typically talk to people or notice people at all. And then when it comes to like changing rooms at the gym or whatever, you also largely just like keep to yourself. Sometimes you go change in a cubicle, etc., like whatever. I just find it such a silly thing. Men who want to go and assault women in these places are not bothering to put on a wig and identify as a woman. They're going to go in and do that anyway. Like, sure, now they might try to use that excuse in order to just like rile up and get a response because they're transphobic and they want to portray this picture. However, they would have done that regardless. They don't give a fuck. If you're willing to go into a changing room just to assault women or ogle at women, like you're gonna do that regardless of anything. Like, the existence of trans people doesn't change the fact that there are gross men that exist. What are you thinking for the other way around? Why don't I ever see this shit made about trans men? You don't have a problem with trans men. Well, you don't seem to have a problem with trans men. Like, you realize that this exists both ways, right? You can't keep making the same argument specifically going for trans women. I just find it so funny how they're constantly like, not all men aren't all bad. Why are women playing the victim card? Men are all good. We love men. Blah, blah, blah. But also, men are going to assault you at any chance they get. They're going to lie and they're going to manipulate you and they're going to abuse you in public. Which one is it? Here we have some advertising. We have Just Positive, which is a woman seeing a poster of a slim blonde girl on a exercise bike and it says fitness. And then she looks down at her body and decides that she wants a flat stomach too. So she goes and exercises on the exercise bike. And then we have Body Positive. And then it's the same woman who goes and sees a poster of Lizzo, because it's always fucking Lizzo, and it says fatness instead of fitness. You get it? And then she looks down at herself and smiles and then goes and gets McDonald's and is fat now and stays on one, like a motorized scooter, because she doesn't do any exercise at all. And I find this just absurd. It's with everything else here. I'm obsessed with the first line just being like, eating disorders. Those are good. Great. We love promoting eating disorders. I'm glad you are noticing and aware of the fact that that is what has been happening forever, is that we've just been promoting eating disorders. I'm concerned and mad that you've made that into a positive thing. But then the bottom one, like seeing like fat people existing then means that people desire to be fat, is like so not the point or what's happening. Like, acting as though all advertising has gone from being exclusively slim women to now being exclusively fat women is so funny, because it is still so largely skewed towards slim women. Like, that is still a very large majority. We just have a little bit more diversity. We just have some fat people that exist. No one is promoting being fat. It is just saying you are allowed to be fat. And it is saying that different body types exist and that's okay. You can look however you want to look, and you can live your life however you want to live, and that's fine. You're valid. You're allowed to exist. You know, like that's literally it. And having exclusively slim people and being told every single day you have to look a specific way, to the point where you look at yourself and think you have to change, and then are like hurting yourself over it and pushing yourself over it, that's not a good thing. So many people, especially young girls and women, have been hurt by eating disorder culture and still continue to be so, myself being one of them. And a lot of that is due to the amount of like body shaming and like advertising that is done with one exclusive body type. It's a good thing that we're showing more body diversity. And I also just want to ask why it fucking matters. Like, it's baffling to me that these people have a problem with just fat people existing in the media, because they're like, you're encouraging people being fat. Okay, so even if they were, why the fuck does that matter? Why do you care? Like, what other people do with their bodies and how they live and how they look literally makes no impact on you at all, regardless on whether more fat people exist in the media or not. Like, a variety of bodies are still going to exist. It's never going to be everyone looking one specific way or having one specific body type. We are all different. We all have different living habits. We all have different metabolisms. We all are different, and everyone looks different. And surprise, surprise, did you know that not everyone in the world needs to be attractive to you? Like, we don't exist to be attractive to you. I do not owe you whatever your definition of beauty is. Yeah, you might not be attracted to fat women, but guess fucking what, bro? I don't give a fuck. Like, it doesn't matter. I don't understand how you can equate like someone's worth to how attractive they are to you. Like, everyone is valid. Everyone is worthy of like a good life, regardless of what they fucking look like. And whether you're attracted to them or not is like the most ridiculous way to judge a person's existence. It's just astounding to me that these people like care so much about the way other people's bodies look when it has literally nothing to do with them. And like caring about their health, being like, oh, you're fat, your health must be so bad, when like not even necessarily. And a lot of slim people have bad health as well. But yet you don't care because they look a specific way. It's never about health. It's always about aesthetic. And either way, doesn't fucking matter. Doesn't concern you. And with that one, I think that I'm going to end this video here. I hope that you have enjoyed. A massive thank you to my Sprout and Above patrons whose names are up on the screen right now. I appreciate you greatly. And a huge, huge thank you to my Kiwi Cat patrons: Bobby, Josh, Mandy, Ikazel, Jessica, Eldo, Danielle, Raven, Elias, Chris, Samuel, and Knitting Menace. I love and appreciate you all so much. Thank you so much for joining. If anyone else would like to become a patron, you go to patreon.com/savvycat or click the link in the description. For as little as £1 a month, you get my videos a day early, as well as podcasts a week early. And then for £3 and up, you get things such as outtakes, bonus mini podcasts, live streams, vlogs, and more. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I'm here twice a week and I would love to see you again. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, The Queer Kiwi, and Twitter, That Queer Kiwi. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Keep fighting. I love you. Mwah.